Hello guys, this is Sean from Ooga Booga Edison coming at you guys with a deck profile from my RBET Indy weekend that was last weekend. As you guys saw, my friend Tim had top 16 with Spear Offering Frogs, and he did a great job. It was a really great event, and I'm so proud of him for topping. But I wanted to come to you guys with my list that I played during the weekend because I also played Spear Offering Frogs, but my version and Tim's version were a lot different just because of our different play styles and whatnot. I did not top, unfortunately. I went 5-3, losing in the very last round to Value Turbo. Two of my opponents I lost to were playing Value Turbo, and they both made the top cut. So I would say was definitely a chance that I could have made top. There was a lot of X2s that unfortunately didn't make it to top 16. But nonetheless, I was happy with how the deck performed. My gameplay was good. There was no major misplays. So I feel like things could have gone either way. So either way, I'll go through the deck list first and then sort of get into some of the nitty gritty on the plays and whatnot and some of my preferences compared to Tim. The point of this video is really just to show you guys that there is a lot of different ways to play frogs or even offering frogs. So let's get right into it. All right. So I'm just going to go through everything and then I'll stop along the way and make some preference sort of remarks. So first off, we have some defense. So Gores, Trag, and Battle Fader. So I chose to play a Battle Fader along with the Trag and Gores, just as sort of a surprise factor, as well as it's good, either to make synchros or to tribute off. It did save me once against Blackwings, which I did 2-0 that matchup. So I can say that it definitely had an impact, but I did side it out most games during matches where oppression is commonly sided. And then, of course, you have 3 Caiuses. Best Monarch there is. Nothing really to say about that. And then sort of the main package that, we're all excited about is the 3 Spear, 3 Junk, and then the 1 Sangan. So there will be a video that we come out with sort of explaining some of the combo lines that involves Spear and Junk, and then Sangan sometimes finds its way into that. Spear overall was something that, I went back and forth with for a long time, playing 1, playing 2, and then ultimately playing 3. Tim was the one who created this deck, so full credit to him. Seeing the potential of this card. People weren't reading the card all day and making sort of some minor errors that, eventually add up during a big tournament to work in your favor. Overall, though, one thing I will say about this card, especially in the quantity of 3, is if you're playing a matchup where they have Deck Devi, which Deck Devi is a really strong card against this deck. I would say it was one of the big contributors to my losses to Value Turbo, which I lost every Value Turbo match in game 3. So it was not a blowout by any means, but especially if I got Deck Devi, this was a card that can really help you stay in the game. Tribute your Treeborn Frog, grab a Junk, and then if this survives, you can make a level 8 or you can make a level 5. Sort of goes back and forth like that. But moving right along, sort of standard frog package. Won't say too much about this. So 3 sub, 3 swaps, 2 dupes, 2 Treeborns. I played 2 Treeborns instead of 1, which Tim did, just because I was afraid of Gladiator Beast Radiari. I like Glads is my kryptonite, so I preferred to play 2. 2 or 1 could work in game 1, but you definitely need the second one for game 2 and game 3. So just keep that in mind. And then 1 uni. No Death Frog. Death Frog was something that I had in the main leading up to the event. But I wanted to make the deck a little bit more consistent. And Death Frog is kind of a brick. But definitely against Blackwings and Hero Bead and some other matchups where you need like just a beater. It can be really helpful to have that card. I did not side the card as well. Maybe in the future I would, but this is just what I played for the event. And then moving on, spell cards, sort of the draw cards, consistency cards. So 2 Avarice, 1 Allure, and 2 Upstart Goblins. So, this was something I didn't have in my deck before the event, but I figured it, in a long event, you want the most consistent deck as possible. So I chose to play 2. I did side it out every single game, as well as I sided out Avarices every single game, just to make my deck a little less susceptible to Crow. In the future, I don't know if I would play Upstart Goblin. I mean, some people love it for consistency. I kind of like to play more real cards, especially if I'm just going to be siding them out every game. I'd rather play something maybe a little bit more impactful. And the deck space and side deck space in this deck is very, very tight. So, but this is what I played. It was, pretty decent. The idea was you wanted the upstarts in game 1 to just see your either combo pieces or, Spear or Caius or et cetera, et cetera. Avarice was always great game 1. So not much to say about these really. My version of this deck was not the turbo version like Tim's. I felt like that deck was a little bit fragile. But it's good. It just wasn't my style, but that's all right. So then moving on, Brain Con, Solex, 1-for-1, Heavy Space to round out the spells. So I had played a monthly tournament about a week or so before RBET Indy, and I was playing 2 of these in the main deck. I think I would have, if I could go back, I would probably play 2 again just because, every time I had a Monarch Solex, Substitute Solex, of course, or even Spear Solex, I felt like the tempo was pushed in my favor, like pretty hard. And I never drew this dead at all. So it was always a good card. I think in general, stealing your opponent's monsters, especially the problematic monsters, is always advantageous. But 1 worked fine. It was good. No complaints. And then trap cards, you guys are all here for the offering. This is the main card that sort of was the idea behind the deck. Again, full credit, shout out to my teammate Tim, who really pioneered this deck. I've always been a person that's played every single deck, imaginable. I've played Blackwings, Value Turbo, Lightsworn, Dragons, which is a big favorite of mine, which you guys will see some content for that later on. I played Hero Frog, probably the most. And then, Tim was the one who sort of, I've been tinkering, with this deck with him. We've talked a lot about it in, different builds, et cetera, et cetera. And it is a really busted card with Spear and Junk specifically, and that was the whole idea. You can also do cute plays where you set this during your battle phase, they attack, and you activate Tribute Monster for Caius, which can be, complete blowout sometimes, or you can even summon Spear, and then, save your life points and get a body on board. There's some other broken plays, which will be in the combo video, involving looping monsters like Caius and Breaker the Magical Warrior and using their effects multiple times. So this card was great. I only ever sided it out when I thought they were going to side Dust Tornado. So like if I use this game 1, I was siding maybe 1 out and making it more of a Junk Frog deck. Tim never sided this card out, which I completely agree with in his version of the deck. But I was trying to make my deck as strong as possible for the matchup. So if I thought they were siding Dust Tornadoes, if they saw this game 1, it came out just to make their cards dead, essentially, right? So that was it for that card. Offering's really great. This deck definitely is not completely solved yet, so there'll be a lot more tinkering in the future. So other trap cards. So I played Torrential, Dust Shoot, Mirror Force, and 1 Raigeki Break to finish out the whole deck. So I'd gone back and forth on this versus Compulse versus like a Dust Tornado for the longest time. I decided to put Rye Break in for the purpose that my side deck space was really tight and it was more of a flexible card. However, I will say there were a lot of times where I didn't like discarding any card in my hand. You know, unlike Hero Frog, where you can discard some of the dead heroes or maybe frogs, etc. And we weren't playing like salvages in this deck, so this card in the future for me would probably come out. I don't know what I would put in quite yet. I definitely will be continuing to play this deck, so there'll be some changes going on. But, you know, like I said, the point of this video was to show you guys that there are many different ways to play this deck, a lot of different preference choices. So yeah, so going on to the side deck, because the extra deck is sort of standard, you know, playing 2 Vanity's Fiend, 2 Cyber Dragons, 2 Kaikus, 2 Breakers, the Magical Warrior, 2 Crows, the second Raigeki Break, double D Prison, and double Dust Tornado. So some things to sort of, you know, take out of my side that's a little bit different. I sided sided Cyber Dragon. I did play Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. This card honestly was the best card in my side deck all day by far. Tim does not like Cyber Dragon in this deck or in frogs in general. And there are definitely some valid reasons for not playing it. The reason why I played it for this event was, again, Gladiator Beast is my kryptonite. And then against the Blackman matchup, it's very good. Against Machina, obviously, it's very good. But I wasn't really worried about that matchup. But it makes it even more of a blowout sometimes for you in your favor. But mainly, the thing I liked the most about it was by playing these and playing Chimera Tech, there were situations where my opponent would summon a Cyber Dragon and they would not contact Fuse, or they would summon a Cyber Dragon and attack one of my other monsters, that I could summon Spear and contact Fuse with their monsters. Against Lightsworn, it's very good. If they summon Card Trooper, you can suck it up, make Chimera Tech. And probably one of the better uses that I really liked was, you know, being able to have this and then have a Junk Synchron, you know, go and summon Junk, special swap, balance swap to your hand, so you get, you know, sort of a one card, if you would, level 8 Synchro. So that was really nice. You know, otherwise, these are for, you know, Blackwing GB, Value, etc., like pretty standard choices, I feel. Crow versus Kaiku. So, you know, I played 2 Kaiku, 2 Crow. In the future, I would definitely play 3 Crows instead of the 2 Kaikus. Honestly, Kaiku is really good versus Value, obviously, in some other matchups, but there was a lot of times where I wanted to normal summon other cards, and there was just really not a great situation for Kaiku. I wish that it was a Crow. You know, I lost to Value in Game 3 twice in 2 different matches to a stacked Plague play, you know, that I could potentially have stopped if the Kaiku in my hand was a Crow. I'm not saying that would have won me the match completely, but it definitely would have, you know, having protection against Value that's in your hand and not, you know, in your hand that you can use and not in your hand that you can't is relevant. You know, because I just found that Kaiku oftentimes was coming out a bit too late to be very effective. And against Forg and Gigavice, which is probably some of our worst matchups, to be honest, Crow is definitely way better. So in the future, I would play 3 Crow for sure. Anyways, moving on. So just extra deck, sort of standard. 2 Junk Warrior, you have to play 2, you know, 4,300, 3,300 Junk is very easy to make with Offering. 1 Armory Arm instead of 2. I did not play the second Armory Arm because there was not a lot of times where the second one came up. In Tim's video, I know he mentioned that, you know, there is a line where double Armory Arm is necessary, but a lot of the lines, you know, don't involve that, so I just decided to play Chimera Tech in place. So Colossal, Allied Justice Caster, Android, your Quizas, Brio, Goyo, standard Black Rose, Stardust, Dark End, because you can make it with Spear, Thought Roar, Mistworm, and Chimera Tech. So that was it. So to sort of recap the video, 5-3. I was 4-1 going into round 6, lost to Vayu, won my round 7 round against Hero B against Alex Chen. He was a really nice guy. I know he's going to be at the RBT in Chicago. I was going to sign up, but it was sold out, so that was a bummer. But and then my last round, I lost to Vayu in game 3. Just some it was one of those situations again where like Kaiku was slow and I didn't have a good time to summon it. One really good mill, for Vayu, you guys know how it is, can change the whole game. But all my game 3s versus Vayu, which, were all very close. So my 3 losses were all to Vayu Turbo. In game 3, the games were always very close. The games I got deck devied, was almost a certain loss. I could fight for a while if I had Spear or Caius in my hand, but it's definitely very, very hard, which is why I think Crow would be something I would prefer, just because you can proactively respond to a Vayu effect or respond to a Plague Spreader effect, on their turn instead of, waiting. Because oftentimes they're not going to shotgun it against you, especially against this deck. They can sort of wait till you commit, Junk Synchron or commit Substitute or etc. So I definitely think Crow would be in my side deck. 3 Spear is great because it insulates you from deck devi. Salvage may have a purpose, which I was playing previously to this event. So there's a lot of experimentation to be done. Overall, the deck was really, really good. I definitely would play it again for an event because it caught a lot of people off guard. Nobody really knew what was going on, which was the idea Tim and I had going into this event. But it was a lot of fun. You guys should try it out. Let us know what you think and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. We'll be making a lot more. As you guys can see from the first video to the second video, I did get a tripod. You can see the shadow in the background. So, as we continue to make videos, the quality will be better and better. But really, the purpose of this channel was to engage more with the community because I will say at the event, everybody I met, every opponent I faced was really, really nice. Everybody was having a good time just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's what, this game is all about. And that's what the community is all about. So, leave a comment. Let's discuss the deck. Let's cook up some stuff. And let's ooga booga on our opponents on on either DB Ladder or in person. All right. Hey, thank you guys again. And we'll see you later.